What's up, everybody? It's me, E-Man from E-Man's Movie Reviews. Y'all, today we have got to talk about a big major question in Season 2, Episode 7 of From, and that is there a traitor or insider amongst the people in Fromville? Now, if you're not caught up with From, now would be a good time to catch up on my breakdown videos. I've got some available going all the way back to Season 1, and trust me, you don't want to miss out on those. But back to the big question. Who could possibly be the traitor or inside person in From? Well, I've got a couple of suspects for all of you to consider, but first, let's rule out a couple of people that I think have a much lower probability of being the insider. First off, we got to get rid of Boyd. I don't think he's the one at all. I mean, he's the main character and hero of this story, so I highly doubt that he would be the insider. Second, I'm going to take Kenny off of my list because I just don't think he's working for the powers that be or whatever. Now, I'm not going to say that it's impossible for Kenny to have a different story, because I think we could be looking at the origin story for him as a potential villain. Why? Because this guy has literally gone through the most in this town. I mean, think about it. He came into the town dealing with his dad's dementia. Then he found out his dad was killed by the monsters. Then he found out that Sarah was the one who caused his father's death. And to add more salt to the wound, his own father figure in Boyd knew about it and kept it from him. Then he got held hostage by evil Chris Evans, who also took his gun. Then you also have his love life that's in shambles because while he was connecting with Christy for a while, she just so happened to reconnect with her long-lost fiance, which of course leaves Kenny out in the cold. All in all, I don't think he's working with the monsters or whoever, but if Kenny does end up going crazy or turning on everyone, I would not be the least bit surprised. Next up, I'm going to rule out Fatima and Ellis. Both of them seem fine to me, and I think that they're probably going to serve another purpose in the show, especially since they're about to get married and have a kid. Now, in my recent interview with Pega Ghaffori, who plays Fatima, I asked about who the traitor is, and she surprised me with her answer. There's talk that there could be a potential traitor in the midst. And I know that you watch the show like we do. And my question, I guess, is which character, from a viewer's perspective, do you think is the most suspicious in From?
Well, Randall hasn't been doing himself any favors lately. Suspicious. Listen. I'm Elgin's proxy and I love him to bits, but like, what the fuck is going on with him?
Yo, you're not
Huh?
You think you're suspicious of him? You think?
You're not? I'm just trying to stir the pot.
I know. I love it. I'm here for it. I didn't think you were gonna name him though. That's
the kid had a nightmare coming into this town and was like, we gotta turn back. I'd be asking to get killed off if I wasn't keeping an eye on him.
Now, when she brought up Elgin, that did not cross my mind, but I am going to rule him out for now. Having dreams and acting weird isn't really a cause for me to suspect him. He was being chased by the monsters not too long ago, and he's now also seeing the music box, which gives me the impression that he's just as screwed as everyone else in town. Next up, I'm also going to rule out the entire Matthews family. We started off with them in the beginning, and I highly doubt that they would be involved. Now, to some people's surprise, the next person I'm ruling off this list is Sarah. Yes, I know. Sarah is nuts, okay? Sarah has done a ton of really, really bad things, but I don't believe that while she's been dealing with these voices in her head and all that, I don't think that she's an insider. Now, we see that she really felt bad for doing the bad things she did because she thought she was actually helping everyone. Then you have the boy in white who helped her get to safety, and right now I don't think that the boy in white would work with anyone in cahoots with the powers that be, because according to him, he's also trapped here too. So I'm just gonna take Sarah off my list. Lastly, and I was real close to adding him to the list, but I'm gonna take Victor off the list. I know Victor is a very interesting case, but I just don't think he's the mole. There's so much that we don't know about him. All we know so far is that he's been here the longest and he's pretty weird. He's obviously dealt with a lot of trauma and that's messed him up in some way. However, could he have motive to be a mole? Maybe. I mean, sure, this place is all he knows after all. So maybe he doesn't want to give that up. Then again, what makes me think he's not the mole is that he's got that connection with the boy in white. I think the boy in white is a good force here at play. And just like I said with Sarah, I don't think that he would befriend Victor if he was actually the mole. Now, don't get me wrong. I'm still going to keep my eye on Victor because for all we know, he could pull a Kaiser Sose on us and just blow us away. So this leaves the door open for us to consider a number of other people. Now, I think it is likely that it could be a completely random person, but I don't think that would really make for really good storytelling. I think it would be more compelling if it were actually someone that we knew and someone that we least suspected. So let me share with you all my top 4 most suspicious people that I think could be the mole or traitor in this story. And I'm going to go in order from least suspicious to most suspicious. All right, let's kick it off with Randall, aka Chris Not Evans. And this guy is a real piece of work. At first, I thought that he was going to be just some misunderstood guy. When he first showed up, he was eager to save the people who were outside and getting killed. And even before that, he was quick to volunteer to help Jim and Tabitha. Then, of course, he goes and beats up somebody in Colony House for trying to take his stuff. And he says some really slick stuff to Jim, which was just not cool. So maybe he's a jerk with a heart, or maybe he's just a straight up jerk. Then we have to also consider the fact that he was one of the first to really suggest the notion of someone working on the inside. So one of the main reasons why I'm a little suspicious of this guy is because of the age-old rule of whoever smelt it, dealt it. Could it be that him raising the question of an insider is a way just to throw us off of his scent? Now, the reason why I've got him lower on my list is because he also would seem way too obvious if he were the mole. If we're talking about an insider, we have to consider so many other things like their motive. And odds are the mole or whoever would probably do their best to be more inconspicuous. Right now, discount Chris Evans isn't really doing the best in terms of keeping a low profile. Next up, I'm going to talk about him because, well, how can we not? But we got to talk about Jade. And yes, he is definitely going to be on this list for a couple of reasons. First off, Jade is clearly going nuts with this bloody symbol that he keeps seeing. It's bad enough that this place has all the horrific stuff happening, but to pile on with visions of death and murder almost daily, that's gotta wear anyone down. Besides the symbols and stuff, you also have the strange connection he has with Christopher. As we learned with Victor, Christopher started out real cool, making people smile and all that, but then he went off on the deep end. Now, we don't know exactly what Christopher did, but it was clearly bad enough for Victor's mom to tell him to find a new hiding place away from Christopher. So my theory here is that Jade could be the mole, but with a slight twist. I think the common knowledge here is that most would assume that the mole has to be someone that's in on the plan with the powers that be. However, it's also entirely possible that whoever is running this place could flip someone against their own will to do their bidding, meaning they could possibly break Jade and he could become the mole without him even realizing it. Now, coming in at number 2, I'm going to have to pick one of the oddest people on this list, and that's going to be Tilly. Now, Tilly doesn't seem like a problem, but that in itself could be the exact reason why she's so suspicious. But let me tell you something. One thing that I've noticed in the many movies and TV shows in the horror genre that I've watched, there are 2 types of people, just 2 types that you can never ever trust. 1 is little white kids and 2 is old white ladies. Now, let me be clear. I'm not trying to be an ageist, I'm not trying to be sexist, and I'm not trying to be racist at all. I'm just calling it how I see it with the patterns in many, many movies, and y'all let me know if I'm telling a lie, because here's the thing. First of all, don't blame me for the trope, but go back to the very first episode. Who did this show scare you with in the very first scene?
Let me go!
Now, besides the stereotypes, one thing I found interesting about Tilly was her reaction when she first arrived in the town. Notice how everyone was standing outside of the bus. They were either worried or just looking about, but she was the one person out there singing and dancing in the rain. It was almost as if she not only loved the rain, but was also fascinated by it. You know who else was fascinated by stuff in this show? The monsters. We've had people like Jokerface get on the bus and become completely enamored with the bus as if it was something shiny or a new toy. But hey, maybe Tilly's fascination with the rain is just one-off thing. So let's move on to the next piece of evidence. Have you noticed that Tilly just so happens to always know stuff or conveniently show up at just the right time in various situations? While in the clinic, the moment Jim was about to notice something, probably very useful with the exit sign, starting at left guard, weighing in at 110 pounds, Tilly comes right in to stop him. Not only does she prevent him from possibly discovering something that might lead to meaningful answers, but she conveniently told Jim that Christy's fiance was on the bus. Later, when Boyd was looking for Kenny after he discovered the truth about Sarah, she just so happened to be in the right place and knew what direction to point Boyd in to find Kenny. But hey, it doesn't stop there. Tilly also happened to interrupt Marielle and Christy and inform Christy that Sarah was back in town. But did you notice the other thing that happened? It was just at that precise moment that she also gave Christy the morphine, which just so happened to be right in front of the drug addict Marielle, who we later see taking the very same drugs. And all of this just leads me to believe that Tilly might be some sort of provocateur in a sense, like she's kind of pushing things along, almost being a bit of a catalyst to make sure either drama or chaos happens or things don't unravel. And I mean, if this is all one big experiment, then she is keeping these pieces moving, and she's kind of acting like the control in an actual experiment. Now, if you wanted one more thing to think about, consider her timing of arriving into the town. We know that the town will push back on people when they do something to upset it. That's what the boy in white confirmed. We also know that the town has the ability to bring people's houses down, send a whole storm to wipe out their crops, and potentially poison their soil too. Do you think it's some coincidence that the bus people, including Tilly, just so happened to show up right when the place was issuing all its punishment on the townspeople? Look, I've got my eye on Tilly, and I think you should too. So, is Tilly the number one suspect? Nope. I've already told you she only came in at number 2, and yes, unfortunately, and it breaks my heart to say it, but my number one prime suspect here for being the mole is Donna. Look, a couple of things just don't sit right with me and Donna. Similar to Victor, Donna has probably been here the second longest. I believe it's something like 3+ years or so. I mentioned that one of the factors of being a mole has to be motive. Well, I wonder if Donna has all the motive in the world to just, stay alive. If you've noticed in the past couple episodes, and even going back to season 1, Donna hasn't really been 100% on board with all the efforts to leave town. She's pushed back on Jim's idea on getting the radio up and running. She subtly has been swaying people away from disturbing the peace or getting people's hopes up. When Colony House was attacked, she was of course disturbed by it, and you saw her drinking and all that, but her main issue seemed to be more so that they were building something nice here and it all got ruined. I think very similar to Victor, Donna may have more reason to actually want to stay here, and I wonder if the powers that be might have cut a deal with her perhaps. One of the reasons why I think that is because I don't trust Donna's backstory. Think of this. For the vast majority of the people that have come into this town, we've heard most of their stories right before they arrive. When you go back to episode 2, she tells Tabitha her story about her sister and the hunting trip that they were on. Then they get stuck in the town and ran into a couple of monsters, and of course one of the monsters killed her sister. Or so, that's how the story goes. Now, here's why I'm a little iffy about her story. I mean, one thing I've tried to pay attention to, and of course I could be wrong, maybe I missed something, but for the most part, I've kind of noticed that there's been a pattern in many people's stories, right? Either people would come from some sort of life-changing event for the better or for the worse. So, for example, Father Khatri was about to commit suicide, but then he was led into this town. The Matthews were on the verge of divorce after a traumatic loss of their baby, but then they came into the town. On the flip side, you had Jade, who sold his company for a lot of money, and he was going to start a whole new life. Same thing with the bus driver who finished school, and she was just going to start a new chapter in her life. So most people seem to come from trauma or were headed into a life of promise in some way before they arrived in the town. But Donna, on the other hand, all she was doing was a hunting trip. That's it. So for me, I'm wondering if Donna may have only told some of the truth, but not all of it. I mean, do we really believe that that was even her sister? If you go back to episode 2, what if the woman in the picture was actually her partner or spouse? What if the monsters who love to torture people cut a deal with Donna, ensuring that she also had to discourage people and keep them in town? I'll give you something else. One thing that kind of bothered me a little bit was when Fatima came and told Donna about her pregnancy, and Donna was a little too excited. Now, maybe I've watched one too many horror movies, but pregnancies can be either a great thing or a completely evil thing. We have no idea what Fatima is going to give birth to in a place like this. Maybe it could be some Christ-like figure that saves everyone, or maybe it could be the Antichrist and rain hell on everyone. Heck, even when I asked Fatima herself in my interview, she mentioned that the baby could be some devil or something. Now, was that a slip of the tongue? Who knows? Anyway, I just recall that in movies that have like these demon baby stories, sometimes the servants of the evil one will also be just as excited for its birth as anyone else. So could it be that Donna might be excited for a bad miracle? Look, the more I think about it, when it comes to good storytelling, if you're going to have a mole or a traitor or inside person, then you have to have someone that people least suspect. But not only can people not suspect them, people also have to have a connection or relation to the character. And I don't know about you all, but I really like Donna's character. And if she turned out to be the mole, she would probably hurt me the most out of all the other characters. All right, that's all I got with this theory. You guys tell me, who do you think could possibly be the mole in From? Look, this could be a wild goose chase. Maybe there is no mole, or maybe there's more than one. I have no idea, but I'd love to hear what you think, so please share your thoughts in the comments down below. Now, before you go check out some of my other interviews with the cast in From, and also be sure to turn on your notifications so you don't miss out the next time I make a video just like this. I do have some more coming up very soon. And while you're at it, tell a friend. I want to thank you all so much for taking the time to watch my video. I really appreciate it. If you're new here and you like what you see, don't forget to like this video, subscribe, and don't forget to hit that bell so you don't miss out the next time I drop a video. I've got more videos and reviews to do for you all, and until next time, I'll see you all later.